Good morning, everyone. I am delighted to welcome everyone today to our Women in Leadership series, How'd I Get Here? I'd like to extend a special welcome to my fellow Graham board members, our foundation and corporate partners. I see a number of Women's Forum members here, so welcome, and nice to see a number of students. Delighted to see so many people attending. So today's event is a continuation of a series that we launched last year, and it has its roots in a very successful program called Graham Slam, which stands for Support, Lead, Achieve, and Model. This is a program that really helps young people in the Graham family to really develop some of their career goals and listen to others who've had experience and help them with their aspirations. The results have actually been very impressive. 81% of those that have received coaching in this program have graduated from high school, which is more than 3 times those students from their graduation for youth in foster care in New York City. So an incredible difference that it's made. So as we proceed today, we're going to be videoing this because we are putting together a career journey library to really help and inspire some of the Graham youth. Again, so that they can learn from others and gain knowledge. So at the end of this program, if you would like to share your career experience, please see Kindred. Kindred, raise your hand. She would be happy to help you to capture this as well. So our program's going to begin with our keynote speaker, Karol Mason, who is the president of John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And you're going to hear about 4 inspirational speakers and their career journeys. The information about their bio is on each of your seats. Kim is our moderator and also is the president of Graham and the CEO since 2021. For most of her career, she has worked in and led child welfare and juvenile justice programs in New York City, and she has been honored by many different organizations, including New York's nonprofit Power 100 list for 3 consecutive years. Tina Davis. Tina is head of enterprise marketing and brand engagement at Citi, and her journey has been built on identifying opportunities for powerful campaigns and bringing them to life. You all know the Citi Bike program. Lynne Sawyer. Lynne is Chief Operating Officer for Wealth Management at BNY and has been an influential leader engaged in women's leadership and development. She sits on the board of Wings, a nonprofit targeted at developing senior leaders. Tata Traore Rogers is the Deputy Director, Affiliate Support and Nationwide Initiatives at the ACLU, providing strategic vision and empowers leaders to champion change, build organizations that are both resilient and value-driven. So the programs are going to begin with questions from Kim, as well as our Graham youth. Each of you have cards, so if you could put down some of the questions you have, we'll collect. So we're going to allow some time at the end to answer some of your questions. And now I'd like to turn the program over to Kim Watson, who's going to introduce our next speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yes. So we're going to open with our keynote speaker, Karol Mason, president of John Jay College.
Good morning, and thank you, Kim. And good morning. I'm delighted to be here with everyone from Graham's second Women in Leadership Breakfast. And I've got my pen ready. Get your pens ready because you're going to hear some wonderful things today. Today's theme is How'd I Get Here? Should strike a chord with everyone because we all have moments when we question, am I on the right path? The truth of the matter is our lives are not linear. Some days move forward, some days move back. I hate those days. Some days we zig and zag in ways that we never imagined possible because truly interesting journeys never follow a straight path. No matter how our journey twists and turns, the transformative moments will come with hard work, courage, and persistence. My journey to becoming president of John Jay College was far from straightforward, easy, or expected, nor has it been since I've been here. I grew up in a small town on Long Island called Amityville, and not the horror. I did live through that, where everybody knew everybody, except the people in the horror. Seriously. To push past my comfort zone, I decided to go to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Yes, I'm a proud Tar Heel. A school, I hear one in the, okay. That's Keturah for the folks of you who wanted to meet Keturah. I decided to go there because there were 20,000 students and I didn't know anybody. During my freshman year, I was fortunate to be part of a program called the North Carolina Fellows, which gave me a sense of community and enabled me to work in a small law firm during summer break. I ended up working for J. Kenneth Lee, a man who was responsible for integrating the University of North Carolina Law School. As a result of that summer experience, I had the courage to walk up to the only black professor in the law school, Charles Day, and ask him if he would take me as an independent study. And he said, "I don't teach undergrads." If you know me, you know that I left the room and he did do an independent study with me. And I did get an A. And I still have that paper on prosecutorial discretion. After graduating from Chapel Hill, I went to the University of Michigan Law School. And one of my most fortuitous experiences, and that's what I want people to realize, that some things come out of the blue. I was going into the dining hall, and Valerie Jarrett was leaving the dining hall. Some of you know her name. And for the last, she tells me not to say this, 46 years, she's been my best friend. And she became the senior advisor to President Barack Obama and to Michelle Obama. She's her big sister. So that initial meeting, 46 years later, helped transform my life. I was a partner at Alston & Bird. I was the first black woman to make partner there, the first woman of color, black woman, to be chair of a management committee of any national law firm. And those things just happened because of working hard, but meeting the right people. So because of Valerie, I became, well, not because of her, but I got introduced to the Obamas, and I had the opportunity to be the Assistant Attorney General for the U.S. Department of Justice's Office of Justice Programs, where with a $4 billion budget, you get to do a lot of things. I don't have that now, to be clear. But it allowed me to see the inequities in our justice system, and it allowed me to do work to transform communities. So in 2017, after spending 8 years in the Obama administration, I had the opportunity to come here to John Jay as the first black president of John Jay and the first woman president of John Jay. So again, lots of zigzags to get here. So I've had the opportunity to support innovative research, but most importantly, to support the success of our students. I love to say that when I got here, Allison will quarrel with me about the numbers, but I was told that our four-year graduation rate was less than 25%. And I said, that's unacceptable. We had a goal to get to 40% by 2025. In 2021, we got to 41.1%. And so the last thing I want to make sure that people hear is mentors don't have to be older than you. They can be younger than you. So a young woman that I mentored when she was in law school, Lisa Lawson, I met her because she was in Atlanta going to Michigan Law School, and one of the few black people in law school. I said, we're going to be friends. Well, she now mentors me. She runs the Annie E. Casey Foundation, and she now opens doors for me because I said, nah, I don't have a $4 billion budget anymore. So now I count on Lisa opening doors for me. So I'd like to close this with a couple of things for you all to think about. When you talk about how did you get here, there are a couple of things to remember. Push past your comfort zone. So do you hear a little warble in my voice? I don't like public speaking. But you push past your comfort zone. Find a supportive community. The folks in this room, I loved meeting Kim last year. I mean, you know, you find people in the most places you don't expect, bond with them, because they're your community, because we've already had a little discussion. Learn from everyone around you. I can't wait for Tata, take your notes out. Learn from everyone around you and be open to those fortuitous moments. So thank you all for letting me share a little bit of my story. Back to Kim.
Thank you, Karol. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to all of you our Deputy Borough President, Keisha Sutton-James.
Good morning, everyone. I should have brought my glasses up. I can't see y'all, but you sound lovely. I can see you guys. I'm still in the phase where I can't see up close. I'm inching towards the phase where I will No, I cannot see the far. I'm inching towards the phase where I will not be able to see my notes. And this is fantastic. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to Graham for pulling all of us together. This is a wonderful gathering and an amazing panel, and to hear from our president here, and thank you so much for hosting us as well in this space, is quite the gift. I was asked to say a couple of words around leadership, but I loved the theme, how did I get here? So if you don't mind, I'm gonna run a little bit with the how do I get here theme. Excuse me, apologies. Because I think it's something I always wanna share with everyone, and that is that life is not linear, our careers are not linear, and that we've got to be, we've got to roll with the punches effectively. This is something I have learned through a number of trials and tribulations. I've had a lot of losses in my life, and including family members who've been incredibly close to me, including a family business that my grandfather and father started 40-something years ago, that really was built out of my grandfather's career in civil rights. He was Malcolm X's attorney. He was an activist. He was a freedom rider. They built a media business, and we lost it all at the end of the Great Recession. And I had just left my life working at JP Morgan in the private bank, in private banking at JP Morgan. And in that moment, obviously, all the money fled in the world, fled to JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, a handful of firms that still stood after the Great Recession. But I had joined my family's business, and then we lost everything. My dad fell down and was paralyzed. And then I had breast cancer. And so I say this to say that there are going to be there's a few points that I want to draw out of this kind of roll with the punches, and how did I get here? We've got to be resilient, first of all. We've got to learn to pivot in our lives. And we got to learn the lessons that come from being forced to pivot in our lives. And this is part of the leadership. This resilience is part of the leadership that you are going to bring, that we all bring to our practice, whether we're working in not-for-profit or in government or in for-profit or whatever. This is part of that resilience, learning how to pivot, being able to roll with punches, and understanding that our lives and our careers are not linear is part of what we're bringing to the fore. I will say a couple of other things that I learned from this experience. When I had breast cancer, I'm actually super grateful for the breast cancer journey, because it actually pushed me further into my faith journey, which has been incredibly important to me. And I made a commitment to myself through that journey. I had to figure out what my treatment path was going to be. I know you guys weren't expecting to hear this right now, but I had to figure out what my treatment path was going to be, and I had a number of options, from super aggressive to simple lumpectomy and 4 weeks of radiation, no chemotherapy. I was so fearful that it would come back and that healthcare would be worse, which, it always is. Excuse me again. I apologize. This is my first speaking. I was out for a week and a half. This is my first speaking engagement. I'm still not quite there, but I'm not sick. I promise I won't give you anything. But I had to decide what my treatment path was going to be, and I was so afraid, and I was making a choice. I was making decisions out of fear. And because I was on this faith journey, thank you so much, E.E. Because I was on this faith journey, I committed to myself to make decisions out of faith, not fear. And that was my commitment in breast cancer. This is what you're going to do, Keisha. 3 years later, Great Recession happens. Again, I get thrown off of I'm sorry, not 3 years later, Great Recession. 3 years later, pandemic happens. Again, what I was working on, the consultancy I was doing, was kind of blown up because of the pandemic. And a friend of mine and this is another lesson, hold on to your relationships. A friend of mine who I'd known for almost 30 years was actually running for Manhattan District Attorney at the time. And I'd been helping him. His name is Alvin Bragg. Many of you may know him or know of him. If you don't, he's the guy who secured the 34 felony convictions against a sitting president, first time in history. But he's also done a whole lot more for us Manhattanites. But I'd known him since college. We went to neighboring colleges. And my neighboring college is actually in the news today because a student at Tufts University was picked up off the street today, and charges have yet to have been filed against her. I encourage you guys to go look at the news if you haven't seen it. But he was running for Manhattan DA. I was trying to be helpful, and realizing that I also didn't have a job, I said, can you, all my consultancy work had gone away. I said, can you use my help for anything, as a paid employee? And he asked me to become his campaign manager. And this is where the faith over fear thing came in. I was afraid because I'd never done this. I had never run a campaign. I had never even really, I'd volunteered for campaigns. I'd helped campaigns. I had never even really worked on a campaign. And I said no. I told him I wouldn't. And to the ladies out there or the people who have imposter syndrome, don't succumb to your imposter syndrome. This guy saw in me and understood what I brought to the table better than I did. And he's pushed me again. And because of my commitment to walk in faith, not fear, I took the job. We won the election. It was an 8-way election. One of the people we were running against was a billionaire who outspent us by 5 times. And we made history, electing the first black or the first non-white male Manhattan District Attorney in the nation. And that is what now put me here in this seat. That is how I got here. And so again, I share that story to say your life will throw you many curveballs, whether they be personal or professional, or a pandemic or a Great Recession. They will throw you. But if you move with integrity, which is something is one of my. That's another I think lesson I would like to share is kind of get a sense of what your brand is. And my brand is definitely, there's a few things, but one of them is integrity. If you move with integrity, treat people well, maintain relationships, move in faith in yourself, and I believe in having faith in a higher being, you will get there. And I can't say this is where I am. How did I get here? This is where I am. Don't know where else I will go, but we keep moving. That's essentially, I know I only had 2 or 3 minutes to share, and I just wanted to share again, kind of some thoughts around how we get there. Everyone's path is going to be different, but know that your path will get you where you're supposed to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for this being your first speaking opportunity as you recover. We wish you continued recovery. Thank you. So I, again, want to welcome all of you today to this gathering and to talk a little bit about Graham. Graham just celebrated 219 years this month. Graham was started by 4, can I say it? Kick-ass women who saw a need. It was 1806, a pandemic of another kind, yellow fever pandemic at the time, and saw children that were being orphaned or left half orphaned by the pandemic, and wanted to make sure that those children had thriving futures. And contrary to, I think, what the narrative has been, it was not to start an orphanage, but really to make sure that children who were here in this country, first generation or recent immigrant, would have a way forward in life, not having parents and not having the connections, social connections that they had had in the places where they hailed from and their families came from. And that has been Graham's legacy 219 years later, that we are still in the business of making sure that as we partner with families and communities and youth and children, that they have successful, thriving lives. Graham was led by women. Women continue to be leaders at Graham, and that is the nature of the panel today. And so we're going to launch right in to our panel discussion. And we have questions from our youth that are going to be fielded in the video. Unfortunately, we couldn't have youth here. They're in school. But they did do videotape their questions. So we're going to use those as well as some additional questions for the panel. So why don't we kick off with the first question. As we are creating a career journey library for young people who are thinking about what they want to do in life, we'd like to start off by asking each of you to share your initial vision about your own career path and where you are now. What do you think your younger self would think about what you're doing today? Tina, do you want to kick us off?
Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Graham. I'd like to thank Dr. Mason, Joan, Kim, and my fellow panelists for inviting me and being here. And good morning to all of you guys. I'll try to do my whole life in 2 minutes. Okay. My career journey, I went to UCLA. I'll start with my father was in the Air Force. He was 26 years, 14 years commission, 12 years, 14 years enlisted, 12 years commission. And we lived around the world in Japan, the Philippines. I went to high school in Madrid, Spain, and then I ended up at UCLA. So I graduated with a degree in poli-sci. On my way to law school, I just knew, I'd been watching LA Law and stuff like that. I knew I was going to be that one. But I wanted to take a gap year, a year deferment. And I got a job, ironically, at a bank, and I'm at a bank now. While I was working at the bank, we were doing some CD ads, and they didn't really have a marketing department. So they asked me, because, I always had something to say, they said, why don't you work on this with some other folks on the team? And I got the bug for marketing, for advertising. And then in talking to my dad, I said, I don't know if I really want to go back to go to college law school, and I kind of like this thing. And his response to me was, well, don't waste my money. If you're not ready to go, you can explore this, and then you can turn around and go back to law school if you want. So I dove into it. I did old-fashioned, old-school research. I went to a library, and I checked out books, and I looked at what advertising would look like, and I found a book called Black Women in Advertising, which I was like, this is interesting. And there are lots of different areas you can go into. My heart wanted to go into writing, but kind of the imposter syndrome thing, I was like, I can't do writing. I need to do something that I know I absolutely can do, which was account management, which the easiest way to describe account management is you babysit adults. You tell them, like, you need your ad plan, I need your media plan, I need your research, I need everybody here at this time. But it was good. I was the oldest child. I'm used to bossing people around. Worked out for me. And so that began my journey in advertising. My first job was actually an assistant for the head of production. And he became a lifelong mentor to me. And earlier Dr. Mason talked about how your career takes a lot of twists and turns and you don't know where you're going to end up. I never was a person that said, I want to do automotive or I want to do consumer packaged goods. I was like, what moved me? What account was I interested in and I wanted to work on? So I've worked on things like Pepsi and Nike and KFC and California anti-smoking, which was probably one of my favorite jobs. And then I enjoyed all of those. And then I decided I wanted to be on the client side. And Citi at the time was doing this campaign called Live Richly that was winning all kinds of awards. So I said, this is where I'd like to be. So I pursued it. Luckily, I got a job there. And, as Joan mentioned, it's been a wonderful journey. I was able to identify an opportunity coming out of the financial crisis around sponsorships. We didn't have a centralized sponsorship department. So I went to we had a new manager, Ed Schuyler, and he said, I hear that you think we should have a sponsorship department. And I was like, yeah, da-da-da-da-da-da. And he goes, okay. And I kept talking. He goes, no, I said okay. So, so I ended up starting that department with one other person, and it was a tremendous journey. City Bike, the Olympics, a lot of golf, all kinds of things. But what I want to say about that, it's been an incredible career, is the writing part has always nagged me, and I've figured out how to incorporate writing into my life. And what I like to say to young people is, if you have a passion and a desire, don't be afraid you can't do it. Go for it. Have the confidence that you can do it, and you're going to have to start somewhere, so just start and pursue what will make you most happy, because work sometimes is not so fun. So you might as well be doing something that you really have a passion for. And what would my younger self think? I think she'd be proud of me. I think she'd be like, wow, look at the places and the things you have done. Look what your career has afforded you, and look at how God has blessed you. Because some of this is not for you, it's the journey, and it's what life just brings to you, the universe. So I think she'd be all right with me. Yeah.
Lynne?
Okay, thank you. I'm so delighted to be here today. When I looked at the agenda and I saw the tagline, which was, "How did I get here?" I thought this is going to be fun, because it's been a wild ride. And like everybody said, it's not a straight line. It's not what you think. It's what you get and what you make of it. So I'll hit the punchline and say, my younger self would say, no way. COO of wealth? No way. Wouldn't even remotely think about what would be the path to get from, a girl from a small suburb outside of Boston, went to a very small high school, went to a medium-sized college. How do you get from that to a COO of wealth management? And I decided, my first step, and I got a little bit of tough love from my mother, I have to say, and that's probably been consistent throughout my whole career. Lots of support, but real sort of tough love. And so I decided I wanted to go to a bigger college, a bigger corporation when I graduated from college. And I also started at a large corporate bank. And, my mother had sort of coached me in college to be an economics major. And I minored in a lot of things that I was very interested in, but I really kind of did economics for my mother. And I said, how am I going to stomach a financial career? And and so I said, well, what do I need to mix with finance to make it work for me, to allow me to be my authentic self in a job? And I chose banking, and I chose a large corporate bank. I didn't go into capital markets. I didn't go into investment banking. That was like way too much finance for me. I needed to see the me in the finance. And so banking was just a perfect fit. Large corporation. They had some structured programs where you could start and learn a lot. And I was telling Tina, I started at 399 Park at Citi's retail bank branch, right on the banking floor, in the midst of everything, right? What better skills and training can you have than dealing with clients day in and day out they come in, and they don't leave until you solve their problem. And they don't come in to say, hi, how are you? Everything's going great. They come in with an issue or a problem for you to solve. And so I was really, really pleased that I found that right balance that used my degree but also used my creative personal skills that made me feel, like Tina said, made me feel good about coming into the office every day or dealing with my clients every day. Because it's not all fun. Mostly it's not fun. That's why they pay us. Right. But you need to crack some fun. And so, I was really, really pleased with that choice. But, you know, then you have to make your own opportunity, right? It's a partnership with your firms, or it's a partnership with your employer, that you need to help them figure out how you can be the best version of yourself and how you can contribute the most. And then sometimes you just need to get it done and work hard, right? In the beginning of your career, you're learning, learning, learning. You're a sponge, you're soaking it up. Maybe you're not perfect, but you're trying and you're finding your way. And then once you contribute in that manner and you start to move through different roles, I think the next most important thing you can do besides learning and growing and developing your skills is then developing the relationships with your colleagues. I heard other people say that. Colleagues can be very important and good sounding boards and a great way for you to learn and grow together. And then you develop mentors, asking people advice. Guess what? You could stop any one of us and say, I have a problem, I'm struggling with this at work. What would you do? We would tell you. We would answer a question. People love to help the people that are coming up. That's what we're built to do. We're in the last third of our career. First third is working really hard. Middle third is getting it done and growing and, you know, really building your base and your foundation. And your last third is giving it back. So when you're in your first third, reach out to the last third people. Ask their advice. Say, I'm struggling with this. What do you think? I'm thinking about doing this. How do you think it would go? You know, give them like, I think this is my solution, and let them coach you through it. And sometimes just asking someone's advice, everyone says to me, how do I get a mentor? Like, go ask somebody a question and ask them for their advice. And if you click, they can become your mentor. And so that's the next thing, working hard, getting colleagues and mentors to sort of be your community. And then sponsorship is another really important thing. And sponsorship is very different than mentorship. And sponsorship is where you work really hard, you're doing really good things, and people notice you. And then when your name comes up, they go, yeah, Lynne's great. I saw her do this, that, and the other thing. She could do that for you. And they sort of help your career learn and grow. Those are all the nice things, and Tata and I were talking about this before we started. There's also the things that go terribly wrong. You find yourself in a job you absolutely cannot tolerate. I had that for 1 year and 3 months, and you can tell I know exactly how long it was because it was miserable. 1 year and 3 months, and I got my way out of it, right? I did it for 1 year, and I said, I can't do this anymore, right? I gave it the old college try, if you will. I learned a lot through it. I gained resiliency, and I found my way out into another job. Sometimes you find yourself looked over. That can go one of two ways. You can either go into a downward death spiral, or you can say, nope, I'm going to move forward, I'm going to keep moving, I'm going to find another path, I'm going to do another thing, I'm going to make them see that I'm contributing. You find your way. So I would say those are some of the key things that I've seen along the way that make it not a straight line. So when I sit here as the COO for Wealth and I look back at everything I did, I can see the journey. It makes sense to me. But in the journey, you zig and you zag. And you make the most opportunity of the moment that you have. And you have the self-awareness to figure out how do I course correct, or where do I want to go next? And how do I get people help me get there? And reach out and develop your networks and work your networks. And, you know, be really passionate and good about what you do. And find that thing that's yours.
Thank you.
So, I love this zigzagging theme because that's the story of my life. It is a meandering, nomadic path, both in where I lived and how I worked. So I love also that we are talking about parents and the role that they played. And it's not always, you know, they have their view of who we should be, and we have ours from very early on. So I remember my father, we had similar lives, Tina. So I grew up with moving around. My father worked for an airline, and I wanted to be a pilot because, like every little girl, I thought my dad walked on water and everything he did was wonderful. And my dad, in his infinite wisdom, was like, you have to be good at math to be a pilot, which is not even true. And of course I was like, oh, you know, I don't like math. And so from there, I remember 1984, there was the drought in Ethiopia, and I was watching it on TV. And I remember sitting there, my dad was there again, and I said, I would like to work and help people like this. This is what I want to do. And again, in his infinite wisdom, he goes, how are you going to make money with that? Right? So, and I love languages. I wanted to be a linguist. Well, how are you going to make money with that? And something was telling me the money thing wasn't really the way to go, but he was my father, and he walked on water. So I decided to follow a path that could make money, which my father wanted me to be a linguist or an interpreter at the UN. And the interpreters at the UN, diplomatic interpreters, if you know, I speak several languages, they whisper and they make themselves invisible. It's very hard for me. And I tried it. I was in college in France, and I was supposed to be a diplomatic interpreter. And the first thing they told me to do was to talk without my hands. That's very difficult. And we decided that was not going to work. So I moved to the US when I was 22 in 1993, and I had 3 gay men roommates, and one of them had 8. So my path is very much around values and emotion, right? So I moved in with this roommate. I'm 22 and, figuring out what is being an adult, because they tell you you are at 18. And they don't tell you that it goes on, your brain doesn't mature until you're 25. So, and then I was grounded in reality and death because of the pandemic back then of the last century. And I started volunteering for Gay Men Health Crisis. I started volunteering for other organizations. And I was recruited in that field. I was an outreach worker in New York City, giving out prophylactics and other useful information around HIV and AIDS. And I was like, this is what I was talking about when I said I wanted to do this type of help, right? That my father thought there was no money into it. And then I grew through the rank doing the same work. I worked in HIV and AIDS prevention, treatment, all new populations that showed up and the pandemic was affecting them. I focused on that. And eventually was curious enough to think about funding for organizations that do service work, right? Like, it seems just very arbitrary. Go outside there and make somebody use a condom in 3 months and never engage in risky behavior. Kind of ridiculous. And the thought process interested me, so I became a funder for organizations that do what we do, direct service work. And in there, again, learning and sort of just shifting, I became a funder in global LGBTQI work, funding across rights for LGBTQ individual as an ally, and sort of entering that world where I was always attracted by those who were othered, right? Because I grew up somewhat a foreigner everywhere that I lived. And from there, I became an executive director of organizations that do what we do, service work. And I remember at 30 years old, though, talking to a coach, mentor, who said to me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember thinking, and I responded like children do, right? I never wanted to be a princess. I don't know what their job is. But I knew that I wanted to run an organization. I wanted to teach. I wanted to be a therapist. I had all of this, what you say when you are a little girl, right? I want to be this and a pilot and, an astronaut and this and that. And I said that this way. And this coach said to me, okay, so go write that down. And I was like, but I was just joking. It's all over the place. He said, go write it down. I wrote it down, and then I came back, and he said, this is possible. There's no limitation in career for somebody who's a generalist like you. I like a lot of things. So how do I pick a path? So I decided that I could do all of those things, and we created a plan for me to eventually run an organization, eventually be a therapist, eventually teach university. So when I think about it, and when I come back to where I am now, I think about the limitations that start in our homes, right? From people who love us very much and wanted to do well, and their anxiety and their desire to see us succeed sometimes box us in the path. And we have to sort of remember that initial feeling, right? The initial values that we have, and that whatever it is that we saw on TV or wherever else, and pursue it. You might not get there right away, but there are paths to get to it eventually. And you don't have to pick one path, right? You can try something. You can do all three at the same time. I'm doing all three at the same time. So my younger self, which is reincarnated in my youngest daughter, is telling me that I am a kick-ass mother and I did what I wanted to do, and that she hopes to do that one day. And it's about, again, lack of limitation. It is okay to be a generalist. It is okay to meander. It's okay to be nomadic in one's career and personal paths. Thank you.
We're going to go to our first video question, which is from Tiana Simmons.
Hello, my name is Tiana Simmons. I'm a peer advocate with Grand Wyndham, and my question is for Miss Tina. Are there any mistakes that you made in your career that you could have done differently? Thank you.
Hi, Tiana. Oh, wait, is she not live? That was video, right?
Yeah.
Okay, somebody tell her I said hi. Yeah. All right. Gosh, mistakes, many mistakes. Life is full of mistakes and picking yourself up and moving forward. So it's not about what I would do differently, because if I had known, I wouldn't have made the mistake, right? It's about what I learned from the mistake and how I use that to move forward. There's a saying, when you know better, you do better. So that's what you take from mistakes. And the thing about mistakes is that it gives you an opportunity to recalibrate. And it also gives you an opportunity for accountability. The thing that drives me nuts is when someone makes a mistake and they just don't own it. Like, own your mistakes. People are going to respect you so much more when you just take accountability and not say, well, it was so-and-so or this happened. Mistakes happen, and we just need to own them and move forward with them. And the other thing about mistakes, as your career progresses and you become a team leader or you become a manager, now you're accountable and responsible for that team and their mistakes. And as a leader, you don't throw your team members under the bus. It's the bus, right? Yeah, or the table. You have to own the whole, the collective. It's your responsibility, and it's something that you have to say to whomever that this happened and we're recalibrating X, Y, and Z, however you want to make it, whatever the next step is. But mistakes are part of life. It's okay. It's all of us do. I made tons when I started my career. I'm still making mistakes in my career and my personal life, but accountability and learning from them is what's most important.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next video question is from Theodore for Lynne.
My name is Theodore Osborne. I'm a peer advocate for Grand Slam, and I had a couple questions to ask. My first question is for Ms. Sawyer. What inspired you to focus on wealth management and financial optimization?
So the short answer in why I focus on wealth management is the relationships that we have with our clients and their unique needs. Every client, every family is like a snowflake. And so they all come to you with their own things, and they need their own solutions. And so, yes, we have products, we have services like any financial firm, but it's how do you pull things together and how do you customize it for the person that is in front of you or the family that is in front of you and where they are on their journey. Because it's very different, they need different things. And so that is really what drew me to wealth and what I do right now. The other thing, as a COO, even though I'm in financial services, I feel like I could do what I do in any industry, because as a COO, I get it done, make it happen, fix it. And I love doing that, and I love taking my whole experience and applying it. So I'm in wealth, and I'm passionate about wealth, but I'm also passionate about my role in wealth and how sometimes I'm not in front of the family or the client, but I'm behind the scenes making it work for the people that are servicing the family or the client. And I feel a really, really great fulfillment in that, which is important to me because we do work very hard and long hours. I would rather be retired than working right now, but I enjoy working, and I enjoy it for those reasons. I will say the other interesting thing about my career journey, and I'll kind of go back to where I left you before, is, I started in retail banking, and then I went into private banking for a while, and then I made a real left-hand turn, and I stayed in finance, but I went and worked in corporate institutional global custody. And so my clients were large other corporations or banks or insurance firms. And that was very, very different than dealing with the individual customer on the bank floor. And I did that for like 15 years, and it was really great, and I learned a lot, but I felt pulled away from that client interaction. And so after 15 years of that, I really had a moment where I thought to myself, what do I want to do next? Right? Because I had been in the workplace for a while, and it was up to me to sort of make that next decision is, do I stay with Citi and retire from Citi, because I'd been there for like 25 years, or is now a good time to move? And if I'm going to move, do I want to make a change? And I thought, I was really happy when I was doing that private banking stuff 15 years ago. Maybe I go back to that. And I found my way, because what I was doing for the 15 years in global custody was applicable financial experience, because I ran client service, I ran client onboarding, and I ran operations. So I actually saw the guts of what we do and some of the riskier things to running financial services. And I had a network. And so I had a woman at another firm who knew me from my private banking days at Citi, and she needed someone to fix her client service team. And I said, I'm in. I'm your person. Let's go. And so I made the jump back into wealth. And I was so happy. I felt like I was home. I was so happy. I was like, this is a great move. And I actually said to myself, one of the other things that I was talking about earlier is things aren't always easy and good. When I made that move, I thought to myself, I should have done this 5 years ago. I missed the flags that were telling me maybe it's time to think about something else. So once I made the move, really, really delighted to kind of be back at my roots. And I felt like everything was coming together, right? The how did I get here? I felt like what I did in the first part of my career and what I did in the middle part of my career and some of the operational things I learned all came together in this COO role. That allowed me to be really successful in this role and be really sort of happy and back to my roots. So I'm not sure I knew it exactly when it was happening, but that's my answer as to why I'm in wealth and why I'm passionate about wealth and what I'm doing right now.
Thank you, Lynne. Thank you. Can we get the video for Crisea? We'll move to Crisea's video. The question will be for Tata.
My name is Keisha Blunt, and I'm a peer advocate here at Grand Wyndham. My question is for Ms. Rogers. I'm curious as to how can leaders ensure that these DEI initiatives go beyond performative measures to create lasting systemic change? Thank you.
So first, thank you for the question. And I want to say that I sit in a privileged seat because I work for the ACLU, I work for the American Civil Liberty Union, and as such, I can say whatever I want. And I know that many cannot, and it's incredible to actually be value aligned with your organization and with those who are leading you. And I want to acknowledge that, right? That there are many who have many things that they would like to say, and cannot say because we are making DEI, we are bringing it into law. And it is not about law. It's about going back. It's about policy, but even going further than that. It's about going back to being a child in the playground and being fair, right? And in making sure that every child who's in there had access to what they needed to have fun in the playground. So for me, it is not about law. It's not about politicians decided. It's about values. And then if values are not sufficient, it is about policy. And it is about creating a sort of a foundational kind of structure for everybody to be able to play, to work, to be, and to live, right? So DEI is rooted in truth for me, accountability, and power sharing, right? When you have power, you have to learn to share it. So it is not about hashtags. It's not seasonal. It's not because somebody put their knee on somebody's neck, right? It is something that we have to think about and be at all time. Like, what is it that I have that somebody else doesn't have access to? And what do I have to do as a human being to make sure that these other people have access to what I have and to what others have? That's what DEI is about, right? Organizations sort of having statements that come out because something happened. I remember at one point it was Stop Asian Hate, and then it was Black Lives Matter, and it was incredibly reactive. That's not DEI. That's kind of, just sort of having it is all about statements. And you have to think about it when you are creating an organization. You have to think about it when you're creating a program. You have to think about it when you are opening anything, a school, when you are in banking, when you are, what sort of information when we talk about wealth is available to communities of color? What sort of information is available to communities who usually don't have access to the information that is being shared? It is not about selecting some people over others. It is about creating, once again, the same offering entry and belonging to the playground for all the children, right? So what I wanted to say and what I would say to people running organizations is to get over and to go beyond the statements, to go beyond the performative speeches, and to walk the talk and create the foundation that is needed for their employees to thrive and for society at large to see themselves reflected in whatever it is they are offering. Thank you.
Thank you. It's almost a drop the mic moment, yes. Yes. Okay. I cannot tell you where this morning went. We are almost at time. And right now, we are going to introduce the Borough President of the Bronx, Vanessa Gibson. Vanessa L. Gibson. Oh, yes, it's your time. Oh, yes.
Good to see you. Hey. Good morning, everyone. Happy Women's Her Story Month. We are still celebrating. Yes, ladies, we are still celebrating all month. March is also my birthday month, so I'm celebrating until the 31st. That is what we do. We are truly grateful to be here, and let me recognize my dear friend, our Madam CEO. Thank you, Kim Watson, to you and the Grand Wyndham team for all the great work you do. I am so grateful to be here to celebrate Women's Her Story Month with all of you powerful women and the men who get it, right? We are always excited to be in these important spaces that allow us to celebrate and recognize and reflect on women leadership here in the city of New York and really throughout our state.
I am Bronx Borough President Vanessa L. Gibson. I am so honored to be with all of you, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this incredible celebration and recognition, because as the first female to ever serve as Bronx Borough President, the first ever African-American woman, I am truly grateful to say that I wake up every day on purpose with a purpose. And I realize my assignment, I realize my purpose in life, and that is truly to make a difference in the lives of the people that I proudly represent in the Boogie Down Bronx. 1.4 million residents that live and work and raise their families and truly want access and opportunity. I'm grateful to be here at John Jay College of Criminal Justice. As a CUNY graduate, I know the power and the value of our institutions of public higher education. John Jay has created so many leaders right here in our city. And of course, I have to recognize my dear friend, our president, Dr. Karol Mason, and all the great work our president does. We see each other in many spaces, and most often in Albany, because we're always lobbying in Albany to make sure that CUNY is funded. Yes, yes, always important, and it's budget season right now. But I am proud to work with our CUNY Chancellor, Dr. Felix Matos Rodriguez. We call him fellow. I am what you call a twofer. I graduated with my bachelor's from the University at Albany in SUNY, and I also graduated with my master's of public administration at CUNY Borough. So I am very proud to say that I am a product of SUNY and CUNY. And I thank John Jay for always bringing us together in these important spaces where we can come together in fellowship, in partnership together to affirm our commitment and the work that we are truly all called to do. Now, being in the borough of Manhattan now, I have to recognize my leaders, because as borough president, my dear friend is your very own Manhattan Borough President, Mark Levine, and I want to acknowledge his incredible Deputy Borough President who is with us, Keisha Sutton-James. Thank you, Madam Deputy Borough President. We thank you, and of course our other Madam Deputy, Aya Keefe, who really hold it down in Manhattan. We are strong and united. BP, Mark Levine, and I are dear friends. We talk all the time, because there's always something happening across the city, and he sometimes calls me first. BP, you're okay? I said, yes, BP, are you okay? And that just goes to show you again that the synergy, the collaboration, we align together. Women's History Month for me is every day. I realize that I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I am all of their hopes and all of their aspirations. I realize that they sacrificed so that I and you and all of us could be here today. I never take for granted anything that I have been able to do as borough president. It truly has not been an easy journey, but it has been a rewarding journey. My first week in office, when I took office as the 14th borough president, January 1st, 2022, I appointed my incredible deputy borough president, Janet Baguero, and that Sunday, we had one of the worst residential fires in the city of New York that happened in the Bronx. A 5-alarm fire at Twin Parks Northwest that sadly claimed the lives of 17 neighbors from the Gambian Muslim community. It was heartbreaking, it was chaos. I was leading and learning at the same time, and it was my first week in office. And I can honestly say that was a part of my growth and my development as an elected official. I remained humble. I allowed people to come together and work together to support families in a real way. And I learned about the resiliency of the Bronx. We turned our pain into purpose and our storm into strength. We have often been knocked down, but we are always able to get back up. We are tough, we are fighters, we want the best, and we want to raise the standards. We will never settle for the floor when we can aim for the ceiling. and Women's History Month, when you think about so many impactful women and women leaders in our community that are running their businesses, they're entrepreneurs, they're in boardrooms, they're CEOs, they're college presidents, they're borough presidents, they're deputy borough presidents. We're doing so many things that have often not been designed for us. And we are showing the world what female leadership is all about. And most importantly, as many of us are firsts in our seats and spaces and responsibilities and titles, I am also the first in my family to get my bachelor's and my master's. The most important message is it's great to say I'm a first, but it's more important to make sure that you're not the last. It's important to make sure that there is a foundation that is created. There are footprints that are set so that someone else can follow. We have to mentor our young ladies. We have to guide them and encourage them, inspire them, motivate them to be their very best, to let them know no matter what, you are destined for great success. You can do any and everything possible. And for many of us ladies, we have often sat at tables and looked around and did not see anyone that looked like us. And what I say to young ladies, when that happens to you, don't think for any moment that you were not meant to be at that table. The reason why you are at that table is because you have been chosen to shatter that glass ceiling so that someone else can join you at that table. It is not easy for many of us in these roles. We have been judged, we've been scrutinized, we've been criticized, everything under the sun. But if you understand that you have an assignment and you have a purpose to make a difference, to be impactful, you don't allow anyone to define your value and your worth. It took a long time for me as borough president and generally as an elected official to come to this position where I can stand with a level of confidence, because there were times when I doubted myself. I didn't think I could win an election because people often told me I couldn't do it. And sometimes as women, we listen more to the negativity than the positivity. And I acknowledge that. And it's okay to say, you know, I feel weak sometimes. I need a support system. And so what I have been able to do as Bronx Borough President is assemble a circle of sisters, of women that stand with me, that have my back, my front, and my side. And we encourage each other. We lift each other up. We don't want to see women tearing each other down. We have come too far in this movement for women's equality and women's rights, women in labor, women in construction, women in non-traditional employment spaces, women who are business leaders, WBEs, entrepreneurs. We have come too far to allow folks to distract us and take us off course of what our ancestors have ordained for us. There is too much going on in this world for women to not stand united together, right? We have to stand for something or we will fall for anything. And I encourage so many of my women, my sisters, my leaders, my queens, to hold your head up high and be proud of how far we have come. When many folks counted us out, we have to count ourselves in as winners. And we have to realize that we are here for a time, a reason, and a season. And so my message to everyone, and I say this very consistently because I've been a part of so many efforts as borough president to support women and young ladies. And the greatest reward when I travel across the Bronx, I have young girls that come up to me and they'll say, Miss Gibson, I did a school project on you. They know my whole history, my government name, they know my middle name, and I don't tell anybody my middle name. They know everything about me. And I'm like, how do you know all that? And they're like, we did a school project. And it makes me feel good when these young ladies say, Miss Gibson, I want to grow up and be just like you, or you've inspired me. I was having a bad day, and I heard you speak at a school or at a church or a community center, and you encouraged me. I just want you to know that we see you, and we are praying for you. That makes me feel good. And it allows me to know that my work is making a difference. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, it helps on those days when you feel like you're wearing the world on your shoulders. You solve 10 problems and there are 20 already waiting for you. And you're on social media and you did a really great thing. You had a ribbon cutting at a new apartment building. You opened a new school. I'm working on maternal health. I'm opening a new blood center. I finally got a new movie theater back to the Bronx after it closed. All these great things: tourism, job growth, economic development, small business. And then I go on social media and the one person will say, well, Miss Gibson, I called your office and no one got back to me. Or they'll say, Miss Gibson, I saw you and you didn't say hi to me in the street. I was on the bus and you didn't say hi to me. And I'm like, okay, relax, release, right? And ladies, we go through that. We do. We go through that. Or you just have so much going on. But I guess my message to everyone is Women's History Month allows us to celebrate who we are. It allows us to reflect on the past, those that started this work, those that had much more challenges than all of us. And here we are for this time. What are we going to do to stand up? Are we going to be the agents of change and the upstanders of justice and equality and fairness? Even in 2025, ladies, we are still fighting for pay parity. We are still fighting for gender equality all the time. We work with Power Her New York. We work with so many organizations, and we're always talking about women's equality and fighting for women's issues. But women's issues are human rights issues. They're issues that matter to everyone, to our children, to our families, to our older adults, to our veterans, to people with disabilities. Yes, every part of this conversation involves women. So as much as some try to count us out and keep us out of the conversation, we will not let that happen. I believe in showing up all the time, and that's what I try to do as a borough president, because I know a majority of the work we do is showing up, being visible, engaging, and being consistent. Consistency and steady leadership matters. For times of uncertainty, we absolutely should be certain about the work that we do. We absolutely should be certain that this work makes a difference. We absolutely should be certain that we are the leaders of today and tomorrow. And as we climb the ladder, ladies, guess what I need everyone to do? I need you to lift someone else with you. That's how I got my start as an intern in the New York State Assembly program when I was in undergrad at UAlbany. Aurelia Green became my mother in politics, my mentor. She groomed me. She planted seeds. She climbed and lifted me. And now as a leader, as I climb, I lift others. That's how you empower women. When we empower one of us, we empower all of us. And we have to keep working together, because all of the issues that we face, the challenges, every conversation we have, women must be at the table. I am very adamant about making sure that women are in all spaces. I am unapologetic about who I am. As much as folks try to change us, I will always remain who I am, who God made me to be, who He allows me to be in this work every day. And I always think back to what Mrs. Green said to me when I first got elected back in 2009 to the State Assembly in a special election. She said, always remain humble. Humble. Because sometimes the very people that watch you rise in your craft and your profession may watch you fall. And most importantly, as we figure out this work, as we continue to do our work and fulfill our calling and our mission and our purpose, let us do so with the understanding that our work is deeply rooted in the foundation of who we are. There is no one like us. We are powerful women. We are influential. We are impactful. We are role models. We are leaders. We are queens. Keep doing this work, because someone needs your love, your attention, your guidance, your inspiration, your encouragement, your empowerment, your motivation. They need us like never before. So I wish everyone a happy Women's History Month. Thank you for having me, and thank you to the panelists. I appreciate being here. Let's continue to support each other. Let's continue to work together. There's no one like us. Happy Women's History Month, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to take questions? I'm okay. Okay, just making sure.
Thank you, Borough President. For those who know, I say, let the church say, amen. Amen. And for others, drop the mic. I want to thank our panelists today, Tina, Lynne, Tata. I want to thank you. I want to thank Deputy Borough President Sutton-James. I want to thank again our Borough President Gibson for joining us today in this. And I'm so sorry, Dr. Mason. Thank you so much for inspiring us and for lifting us and lifting this conversation. Joan Haffenreffer, what can we say? Did it again. Another very excellent convening. And thank you for your partnership, your leadership, your guidance in this gathering that we've been doing each year. For all of you who've come out today, we want to thank you for making time and joining us today. We want to also extend an invitation to you to our upcoming gala, which will be on May 20th at Gotham Hall. And this year we are privileged to have Joy Moon, I'm sorry, I got her name mixed up, who is the leading actress in Hell's Kitchen. So for those of you who are interested, Myra, where are you? She's in the back. Please see Myra. And we want to thank you all for coming out today. We know we're at time. We've gone over a little bit. There's still some breakfast available, and thank you for joining us.